Don't miss Leopold's Stat at Writers Theater in Glencoe and the late Tom Stoppard's final work. We follow multiple generations of a Jewish family through 5 decades of daily life until history takes it all away. The Tribune calls the Tony Award winner essential viewing, and Stoppard worked with director Carrie Perloff on revisions exclusive to this production. Leopold's Stat is the largest production in Writers Theater history, so you don't want to miss it. Get your tickets today at writerstheater.org, and that's theater with an R-E. Today on CityCast Chicago, what's in the new Protect Renters Ordinance? What's going down at the OPC this weekend? And what cold foods and treats are you reaching for on days that feel like 90 and 100 degrees? It's Thursday, July 2nd. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. I've got 2 amazing guests in the building with us, contributors Jill Hopkins. Jill, it's good to see you again, my friend.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing very well. Great to have you in the building. We've also got Lee John Greco with us. Lee, always a pleasure.
Hey, Jacoby.
Let's jump right into it, Lee. For years and years, advocates have been asking for a tenant bill of rights and strengthened protections for renters across the city, which make up, including myself, 54% of Chicagoans. And earlier this week, the mayor put forth a proposal. Let's get into it. What's in it?
Yeah, sure. So the mayor unveiled this proposal to protect renters. It's going to amend the current residential and tenant ordinance, which I guess has not really been changed since the days of Harold Washington, which is pretty crazy. They're going to go after what they call non-transparent junk fees and landlords who are evicting tenants without good reason. The ordinance would require landlords to give a valid reason before evicting a tenant or declining to renew their lease. There's also a couple things in here that landlords and, the building owners are taking issue with, like this annual registration of all rental units and fees of $60 per year per unit that landlords would have to pay. Now, the idea behind this from the mayor is to go after these large corporate landlords. I guess some of these fees would be a little bit smaller for the smaller landlords. You have these huge corporations now that are buying, tons and tons of buildings, increasing rents, and people are just finding that it is not sustainable. And, when you're talking about this from like a political strategy or politically savvy move, it's really smart to unveil this ordinance right now, I think, because everybody's talking about the cost of housing right now, not just in Chicago, but we see that in New York. Housing and affordability was a huge part of Zohran Mamdani's campaign. You're starting to see, Congress and even Trump talk about housing and affordability. This is a huge topic of conversation in politics. When Mike Quigley unveiled his campaign on Saturday, the 2 things that I heard the biggest cheers from the audience was tackling pensions, the pension crisis, and then the way bigger cheers were for housing. So, this is really trying to attack that problem. I think the question is going to be, what compromises is the mayor willing to make in terms of these, fees that he wants to tack on for the landlords? And, what kind of teeth can you give these protections for renters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking through the mayor's proposal, it leans on 5 major tentpoles, which you pointed out, like that modernization on trying to standardize fees and deposits, create the tenant bill of rights, the rental registry, which I think is a really important system when you start looking into investigations that have asked the question of how much protection do Chicago renters have? And it's really difficult when you're trying to figure out if your building is owned by a corporation or someone who owns a bunch and they're hidden behind a couple of LLCs, and it's really hard to get to the person who's responsible for your building in your unit. It would create a Bureau of Rental Housing Services, expand the eviction counsel program, making sure that people who are going through the eviction process have the information they need, the resources they need, and can be linked up with counsel, and then strengthening protections around just cause eviction. It sounds like in the reporting that I've been looking at that this has been in the works, over the last few weeks, maybe even a couple of months, and that there have already been some compromises made. Do you have a sense of where the mayor's people seem more flexible than others? Like the Tenant Bill of Rights, for example, is that something that they really want to be in the final part of this? And are there other parts that are a little more malleable?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it seems like the parts that are malleable, you talked about that measure that would have forced landlords to pay the rent. So the mayor's team already removed a measure that would have forced landlords to pay 10 months rent or $10,000, whichever is greater, when tenants move because of, quote, an unconscionable rent increase. So that seems like an area where the mayor's team is already compromised. Again, we will see. Could that be pushed further? We've seen compromises like this happen where they just keep getting watered down and watered down, like we did with the ADUs, for example. So, maybe there are more tweaks there. I'm not sure yet about the Tenant Bill of Rights, how much the mayor is willing to actually budge on that. I will say, I think one of the interesting things here is the just causes part for eviction or non-lease renewal. Those would include things like non-payment of rent, serious lease violations, tenants' refusal to renew under certain conditions, bunch of other things like major repairs. The fear from landlords is basically okay, this could actually prevent me from evicting somebody who is a serious problem tenant, right? So I don't know, maybe there will be further buttressing of that language to make
just
sure.
Sort of clarification, because
Right.
it does seem that some of this, even the relocation fees, aren't tacked on if you evict someone for just cause, right? For even if extended non-payment or other things. So it already seems like there's some wiggle room baked in here. And Chicago's current renters protections, as again investigations we've covered on the podcast, lean heavily towards landlords and owners. Do you get a sense from some of the alders who were in the room for that committee meeting? What is the timeline here? How likely do people seem to push this to the full city council? And does it seem like there's enough support there?
Yeah, so as far as timeline, the committee's chair, Alderman Byron Cedro Lopez, said after this meeting on Monday that he didn't expect a vote is going to move forward this month. Johnson's folks have added that a final vote could come in the fall. So I think there's a lot of time to tackle this. Again, I would say if the vote comes in the fall, then you are coming up against a bunch of other deadlines like we have seen in the past that, typically the budget should be wrapped up by the fall. That hasn't happened. The last budget was pushed as late December. So it feels like normally the fall is this time that all of the oxygen in the room gets sucked up by budget negotiations, by hours-long committee hearings for those budget negotiations. Again, just kind of depending on that, I don't know that we will even see a vote on this by the fall. That's just my own conjecture, my own kind of opinion based on what has happened in the past. But I would also add that if Johnson wants to use this as, a feather in his cap moving forward in the spring election, then it's probably pretty important for him to get that across the finish line before the end of this year. Because then by next year, we get into election season. I feel like he's really going to need another progressive win for himself, something like this, an affordability win, especially since that will be such a hot topic in this campaign. And we have seen his other progressive wins that he has had, you know, just erode over time. They've been rolled back or stalled or whatever. So I think it'll depend on how much political capital Johnson wants to put into this as well.
I know that last was also a reference to the end of the pause on the sub-minimum wage increase, which was a big win for Mayor Johnson. I agree with you. I think this proposal is something that he campaigned on. I do think it's something that housing advocates have supported en masse. I think it's going to be difficult to see, how much support this can get in city council. Will it get to the finish line? I think the same contingency that's going to be up against this proposal was the same one that was up against things like Bring Chicago Home.
Right. Which was the real estate transfer tax. It was going to raise real estate transfer taxes for properties over $1 million. So yeah, I would imagine Building Owners Management Association, also known as BOMA, will probably come out against this, and real estate agents. But then on the other hand, like you mentioned, 54% of Chicago renters.
I was going to say, I think it's in Alder's best case as well that you don't want the mayor running and his platform being that the city council, and look at your Alder person in the face that voted against a rental registry and a tenant bill of rights and, just cause for eviction. And I do think the framing from like Alder Villegas that landlords are in this to make money. And so this is going to, be adverse to them. I think at this moment when people are talking about affordability, I understand there are a lot of, so-called mom and pops. I got a lot of friends who have extra units and one building or maybe even two that they rent out. And that's a major source of their income. But again, housing is the thing we all need.
Right.
And I know that utilities are rising and maintenance is rising and insurance is rising and all of these things, but this is an opportunity to honestly find some common ground. And I know how much this sort of pits the landlord versus the renter once again, but I think this is a moment where I think alders have to come together to salvage really important parts of this ordinance. Not only for their own political sake, but for, Chicagoans in their ward and beyond.
Hi, I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, a podcast network that includes this show you're listening to, and also 12 other CityCasts in 12 other cities. And each one knows their city as well as your local team knows yours. So isn't it time we connected them? Don't you want to know how they're tackling their bike lane problems and housing challenges and sidewalk dog poop crises? That's why I'm hosting a new podcast called Your City Could Be Better. Because it could be. Every week, I'll chat with a different host in our CityCast network about what their cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes, so that we can all learn how to make our cities a little bit better. Listen to Your City Could Be Better on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
I think our first story really is in a lot of ways, a perfect transition to our second, because when I think of working towards expanding renter protections, I think about the fight from local advocates and local groups to secure housing protections around the development of the Obama Presidential Center and Library. And while there was never a community benefits agreement, there was the 2025 Jackson Park Housing Pilot Ordinance, which reserves city-owned lots for affordable housing, creates property tax debt relief in a pilot program, expands tenant protections. As said, there was the Woodlawn Housing Preservation Ordinance as well. And, with the Obama Presidential Center recently opened, Jill, I'd love to get your thoughts on how it's, sort of grand opening and its initial programming and, all attempts to be a great neighbor, even as all of these broader concerns maintain.
Yeah, I mean, the grand opening brought a lot of attention to Chicago, brought a lot of attention to the neighborhood. And I think it went as well as anybody could have hoped. I mean, it was definitely the highlight of like just kind of the national attention paid to Juneteenth. It was kind of a perfect weather weekend for Chicago. It felt more patriotic than I think a lot of people have felt in a very long time. And they're kind of making sure to keep that vibe going through the 4th of July. Since things seem to not be going very well in our nation's capital, Chicago has kind of decided that we're just going to do it ourselves. And
I have seen some of those videos. It looks tired and sad.
The current Great American State Fair, as we've all seen, is just it's never gotten out of its flop era. It entered its flop era the second it left the gates.
It just looks broke.
It is sad. I've personally played to more people at the Empty Bottle on a Wednesday afternoon. Like,
I saw more people at Porch Fest.
I'm saying I've had sound checks that had more people at it. That was so sad. There were more people on stage from the last video I saw than there were out in the field. And it's sad because this really could have been a really good time. Under anybody else's eye, this would have been a huge reason to celebrate. But the Obama Center and a lot of Chicago says that that's fine. You don't have to go there. We've got our own thing going on. This July 4th, the OPC has a great day planned of community and music and local, civic pride. They've got a DJ, this great big band called Muka Patsa.
Love Muka Patsa.
Love Muka Patsa. There's more people in Muka Patsa than there are.
That is absolute. There are a lot of people. If you've never seen that band, they're like a small high school marching band. They are not actually from high school, but that is the vibe and number of people.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's really big and fun.
It's really big and kind of the perfect thing for this sort of celebration. If you are. They're not they're like John Philip Sousa on copious amounts of LSD. And Melody Angel is singing, and she's got a beautiful voice. She's a great soul singer from here in Chicago. And I'm here for it. I think if you're going to have a center like this, it's a love letter to Chicago. It's a love letter to Michelle, obviously, but it is very American. It is celebrating an American president. And so it just makes sense for them to be doing this. And they've announced programming for more of the summer, lots more interactive immersion, walkabouts. They're having a karaoke party out there. They're having a Hamilton sing-along watch party.
Ooh,
I think it's very cute. But it's not the only thing that's going on around these parts. If you don't want to make your way down there, because I do think it's going to be quite a crowd down at the OPC this weekend. But if you'd rather stay in other parts of the city, Millennium Park has the Grant Park Symphony Orchestra playing. That's going to be super patriotic. I love the picture on the website for Choose Chicago that they used for that. It's these two Black women with like shutter shades on in red, white, and blue. And I'm like, wherever they're going, I would like to also be there. The Cubs are in town. The Sox are away, unfortunately. But Navy Pier really takes the 4th of July very seriously. And if you are a fireworks fan, that's where you're going to want to be. I've decided that I want to take this time to kind of separate these recommendations into 3 distinct categories. We just heard like the family friendly. That's what you do with the kids. You pack up the minivan and you go do these things. Friends and hot dogs. You can go to Fitzgerald's for their 43rd American Music Fest with Neil Francis and the Spin Doctors. Everybody get excited. Milwaukee has some cool stuff for Summerfest. Literally something for everybody this weekend. Flo Rida, Megadeth, Stephen Marley, Sean Paul, my president, Sean Paul. The World Cup gets down to the round of 16 starting on the 4th of July. And Saturday, Mexico will play whomever trickles down to that section of the bracket.
That's going to be huge.
That's going to be huge. That's going to be a really fun time to be in Chicago. And this third round, I've decided to title "Ho Shit." Like, this is what you're going to do after dark. In very little clothing, maybe like an American flag bikini. You can go to Smart Bar, which is always a good idea, but they have a party called Kink that's happening, and you just extrapolate from that what you need to. And then Subterranean is having a Charlie XCX dance party, which sounds absolutely amazing.
Nice.
And I can't imagine how sweaty it's going to be in those 2 rooms. So there's plenty for people to do that isn't going to have TSA levels of security to get into, like the Great American State Fair.
I love that Navy Pier is doing their fireworks on the 4th of July, because I think the last couple years it's been like the day before or something. And, you know, I mean, I'm here for the kind of homemade or neighborhood random fireworks that pop off. Although I don't want to be like the sort of mom, but I was on the Montrose steps last night and kids were holding Roman candles and lighting them. Like, that is how you get your hands blown off.
True.
I love fireworks. Like, my dad would set them off all the time. So like, I'm totally here for like, you know, the little fireworks or whatever, but don't hold them. But yeah, I love that the Navy Pier fireworks, they're huge, they're safe, and you can see them from pretty much anywhere in the city.
Just be considerate, be safe, everybody. Have a hot dog for me. I will have one for you. And if you know somebody whose birthday is on the 4th of July, just say it's about them. You're
absolutely. And drink responsibly this weekend too. Yes. We should say it's going to be very hot.
Very hot.
Drink more water than anything, because, you know, alcohol does dehydrate you. So, you know, like you said, for that 3rd era or phase, whatever you want to call it, the hoe things, hoe responsibly.
Hoe responsibly. White Claws don't count as water. It might feel like that, but trust me, it is not the same.
You gotta do like a drink and then water, or, you know, if anything, it's good for your skin to feel hydrated.
You don't want to get all puffy from all the hot dogs.
Speaking of food and drinks that y'all are reaching for when it's scorching outside, when it feels like 90 or, you know, God forbid, 100 degrees outside, what are those things that y'all have to have? Like, I like going to H Mart and getting those propitious mango ice creams and letting it melt a little bit and then eating it. That's one of the things I reach for.
I'm going to give a shout out to the neighborhood paleta man. Never fails.
Yeah.
You hear that jingle jangle coming down the street, you know you're in for a good time.
For the go-to frosty treats, my parents came to visit me last year during that crazy heat wave that we had when it was 100. And we made a beeline for Margie's because my mom I don't know where she was. She kept reading about Margie's. She's like, have you heard of this place? I'm like, have I heard of Margie's? Come on. But yeah, it's so good. We had like a big, you know, banana sundae, like, and everything in the little bowl that they have, that silver bowl. And that is really nice. At home, I just love like whatever Trader Joe's has that is frosty, like the, I don't know, like a fruit bar or something, like a lemon, anything lemon and cold is good. Yeah. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I need to get over to Sean Michelle's. It's the ice cream shop in Bronzeville. Sean Michelle's homemade ice cream.
Oh, okay. Ooh, nice. I love that. I want to find more places in Chicago. If you guys have recommendations, I think we were talking about this recently, but like, I love weird ice cream flavors.
I have a friend who is a pastry chef, and she was a pastry chef, and just to see what it would be like, she made a Malort granita.
Oh, how was that?
Not bad.
Really?
I don't know.
Like it's
Jacoby's like, nuh-uh.
It brings out like the citrus, you know, of the Malort. It and if you maybe drizzled like a grapefruit syrup on top, I could see it. I would have a cup of it. I would do it.
I want to hear from everybody listening. Reach out to us at 773-780-0246. What are you reaching for during these hot ass days? I want to give a huge thank you to our guest today, Lee John Greco. Thank you for making time for us.
Thank you. Happy 4th, everybody.
Jill Hopkins, thank you for being in the building with us.
Thank you. Hopefully I'll see you guys at the barbecue.
And for everybody else, please head over to chicago.citycast.fm. If you haven't already, subscribe to our daily newsletter and check out our events calendar. Of course, I can't let you go and end the week without some good news. The Mandela Arts Red Line Project continues today, 4 to 6 o'clock at the Sox 35th station. It's going to be a good time. They're going to be out there playing live jazz music. If you want to see the full schedule for the summertime, I'm going to drop a link for you in the show notes. I want to give a huge thank you to our entire CityCast Chicago team. Simone Alisea, our executive producer, our creative producers, Michelle Navarro and Emmy Mack, our audience development manager, Chima Okoro, post-production from PJ Shahamid and Alyssa Castles and Matilde Urfolino. Our music is from Sam Thousand, All the Kimonos, and Mark Greenberg from the Mayfair Workshop. We are off tomorrow for the holiday, but you will be seeing an episode of Your City Could Be Better dropped in your feed. CityCast Twin Cities host is quizzing David Plotz and author Alexandra Petrie on U.S. Trivia. I'll be back with you on Monday. Again, thank you for making time for us. I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.